Alright, so this is the tutorial for the Found Sound drum kit. First, of course, you'll want to open up Ableton, and I always recommend that right off the bat you save your live set. Make sure you find your Audio Student folder on the side here. If you need to, click on the arrow and find your audio drive, find your folder, and name it. Then what we need to do is go to our drums categories here on the left hand side, and we are going to find the drum rack, which should be right on top. Click and drag that onto your MIDI track. And what this is just an empty sampler pad basically. We can load any sounds we want into these boxes here, and we're of course going to load our found sounds into those boxes. So go to your Finder Man, and hopefully you've already done the step where you have recorded all of your sounds and put them in a folder on your drive called Found Sounds. And you can see that's what these are right here. So I'm just going to select all of them, and you can just click and drag all of them in all at once. And you can place them anywhere on this grid. This grid will actually hold up to like, I think 96 samples. But I like to put it right here where the outline already is. And then they'll load just like that all in a row. And it's a good idea to name your sounds before you load them in, because then the names will just already automatically load in, and these names will match the names that are on your drive here. If you don't name them first, you can name them inside of Ableton, but the names that you change here does not change the file names, and so then they'll be disconnected that way. So I do like to name them before I even bring them in. Kind of takes out some of that work. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go through your samples and find the best spots. Find the spots that are the most useful. And I really like to take, some of these, like the wooden bonk, for instance. I recorded 3 knocks on a wooden wall. And I'm actually just going to choose one of these to use. And so I'm just going to use these little arrows here, and this kind of just selects the zone that you actually want to play back when you push the play button. Then it will just play that one sample, right? Just that one spot. So kind of zoom in a little bit. This is kind of a small area of the screen to look at. So a lot of times what I like to do is if you click on this little arrow up here right next to the name, it will open up kind of a bigger screen version of your sample here, and this will also open up some other options that you can do with the sample later on, and so this is a better way to work with the samples, I think. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is 2-finger tap on your sample here, and you've got some options. Normalize volumes, I recommend that you do on every sample, and what that's going to do is just bring the volume up for your sample so that it is maximized for your purposes. Just kind of an automatic volume calculation. And then you can zoom in, zoom out. I usually recommend that you zoom in just so you can get your start points just right on the money. That'll just help when you're using these samples later. And then always leave a little bit of a tail on shorter sounds. I'll show you on some of my longer sounds, like I've got this vacuum that I recorded. It's quite long, and I'm not going to use the whole sound. I just want to use just the tail end of it here, where I turned off the vacuum and it kind of is powering down. So I'll normalize that one, and it sounds like this. Right? And depending on how much, I could just use this much of it even. Or I could make it longer. Kind of depends on what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and kind of take it to there for now. So anyway, the first thing you need to do is go through all of your samples and find the bits that you want to use and isolate those bits with the sample playback, normalize those bits. Just find some good little pieces that have some interesting sounds to work with. While you're doing that, you might want to try and do some alterations for the sound. Although I really recommend that you do those first two steps first of normalizing it and then finding a zone that's interesting. But here's some alterations that you can do that I think are fun. And in the assignment, if we look at the requirements right here, you need to alter the sound of at least one sample with two or more of the following. So I'm going to show you all of these options here. And I'll show you a couple extra ones too, just so you can check out all the different ways you can change your sound. You can really take a very normal-ish sound, like this one is just running water,